alike. Known for his unique vision and work with icons such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Charlize Theron, Gigi and Bella Hadid, and the Kardashians, Jim's lens has shaped some of the world's most memorable images, from LA to NYC and beyond. Jim is also a talent manager and successful entrepreneur, with several independent businesses, including but not limited to fashion and lifestyle publications, James Magazine USA, Major Magazine USA, and White Cross Magazine. Welcome, Jim. How are you doing today?
Hey, buddy. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me. It's good to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Please tell our listeners a little bit about you.
So, I'm a native Californian. I started creating as a very young age and trimming trees, bonsaiing bushes, started cutting hair as a really young kid, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Started dabbling with makeup and hair, cutting trees, cutting dogs' hair, anything I could get my hands on to transform. And I led me into a career for a 20-year career doing makeup and hair for celebrities and the world's most famous fashion photographers. And I eventually became a fashion photographer about 20 years ago. And I've been a professional fashion photographer director for many years. And I reside in California between LA and New York and Dubai. And I have the best job in the world.
Well, you're very lucky, Jim.
Thank you.
So the list of celebrities that I enumerated is really just the tip of the iceberg. We know that you've worked with many other talents, well-known names, and the list would just go on and on. But let's focus on some important questions today
Okay.
regarding cities and your career and your perspective on cities.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
how do the cities that you work in, like Los Angeles and New York, influence your photography style? Think palm trees versus concrete jungle. How does the urban landscape for each influence your photography?
Well, when I do a project and when I storyboard, have visuals for campaigns or clients that call me to hire me to take me to wherever I think they should go, is I normally start by looking at the product that I'm trying to sell. I try to figure out who the customer is and where the landscape of where that those brands live. So the cities I choose to work in and to shoot in determine a lot to do with the clients that I'm working for. So if I'm shooting something, a luxury, obviously swimwear and beautiful campaigns, that I'm going to look for a city like Miami or a city that has beautiful beaches and palm trees and blue water, opposed to if I'm shooting something, for an urban campaign that I want to be in New York City and shoot near the Brooklyn Bridge and the Williamsburg bridges and the cobblestone streets and the Soho. So determining where it is, I love shooting in Los Angeles. I live in LA and I know it like the back of my hand. And there is so much diversity here in Los Angeles for me as a fashion photographer, from the deserts to the sea in one day and all the different things that are here and the diversity. So it really has to do with the clients that I'm working with is how I'm determining the cities that I want to be in and work in as the backdrops to the photos that I take.
Jim, maybe you can enlighten our audience and explain to us a little bit about, what LA has in terms of film studios and recreations of famous places and cities around the world. Is it possible to film, I don't know, a scene in Italy from a movie studio in LA? And is
Yeah,
that something that you've done in your photography career?
yeah, absolutely. We have Universal Studios here and they have the backlots and you can rent those studios and shoot on the backdrops where Mary Poppins was filmed or the English British flower markets, and there's the New York City streets in the Universal backdrop. There's all of that stuff there, there's Western towns and there's so many beautiful locations there. Obviously, at Universal Studios and Warner Brothers Studios has backlots of New York, Soho. They have Empire, they have all different types of things that you've done. So I shoot a lot of stuff for Warner Brothers and the Warner Brothers stores and the Disney stores. I've shot all those campaigns in those stores. And we go to all lots of times we shoot at Universal Studios and Warner Brothers and the backlot on the different types of scenarios and cityscape landscapes they have.
What unique aspects of each city inspire you when scouting locations or talents?
It's kind of a combination of both. So depending on where the talent is normally is going to determine a lot to do how close it is to a major city to get great talent, opposed to booking talent in New York and having to fly them to Nebraska and choosing a location in Nebraska. So it depends for me how I think as an artist and a photographer and a producer is how are we going to get the best locations and the best bang out of our buck with the model budgets that they charge so we don't have to pay the models hotel and airfare and book travel days, and those things all come into my decisions on how to choose a location and a city to shoot in, opposed to trying to find great locations in Los Angeles or New York or Paris. Those are where the or Miami, where the major agencies are and where all the models are there in that hub that live in those locations. So that is, to answer your question, it really has to do with the budgets and trying to save costs to get the best bang for your buck, trying to get the best talent to shoot.
Understood. So you've worked with some of the most recognized names in entertainment. How do you
Mhm.
think the social scenes of LA and NYC contribute to building such high-profile careers?
I think for the Los Angeles, I think that the fashion world is much bigger than the movie world. And in saying that, the fashion world is based in Paris and London and Munich and LA and all around the world, in Italy and Milan and Paris, like I said, Milan and Paris and New York and Los Angeles, and it's in Miami and Germany and Berlin and Hollywood. The movie studios are basically like New York and LA. And the
Yeah.
major motion pictures that are happening are normally based in Los Angeles. So I think the careers that, the lifestyle of a movie star or an upcoming actor is normally engaged to be in Los Angeles or London to be focusing on their careers as actors. And in the fashion world, the talent, the major stars like, you know, the Bella Hadids and the Gigi Hadids and the Kate Mosses were based like London based and then make their way to New York. So I always tell people, it's the movie world is a much smaller ecosystem than the fashion world. And so I think, raising up, movie stars, I think a lot of the actors, the good actors and the actors are building their networks in the city of Los Angeles and Hollywood. And with talent and fashion models building their ecosystems or the way they get in the game and become known as big famous models like the Kate Mosses and Bella and Taylor Hills and the Jeremy Meeks, those are the people that are moving to these different hubs and living in multiple cities around the world. When
So
I discovered
fashion is a more global industry than movies.
Yeah, when I discovered Gigi Hadid, I discovered her living in Los Angeles. She lived in Malibu. And the first destination we sent her to was New York. So now she's based in New York and has been based in New York. Her sister Bella is in New York as well. And she has a farmhouse in Pennsylvania, close to the city. But she is like one that lives in Paris and New York and London and goes all around the world. But if she
Would
was,
you say that both the Hadid sisters are equally talented, or do you think that there's one that kind of carry the other
I think
in,
they're
in, in
both
her career?
beautiful and equally talented in their own special gifted ways, for sure.
That's very unique if you think about it, that that siblings can become both celebrities or both
Yeah.
great at something. Do you think that's genetic, or do you think that there's some nurture at play?
I think it's a lot of hard work, and I think, it was what they manifested and what they saw for their future, and that they were bold enough to walk into those rooms and get in front of a camera and show who they really were. I don't think it's a fluke. I think, they were raised for greatness. I think they had an amazing ecosystem around them. I think that everybody that her and their family engaged with were a lot of famous people. And I think the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Their mom was a famous model, the most beautiful girl, Dutch supermodel. And they were, groomed for success, groomed for greatness.
Can you share a memorable city-based shoot that captures the essence of that location?
Yeah, like obviously, like from, I love shooting in Central Park. I love shooting in a memorable shoot. Uh, I have so many memorable shoots. It's so hard to pick one. Um, man, I feel stupid. Like I don't know how to answer this question. Um, a memorable shoot that captures the essence of the location. Like to me, all of my shoots capture the essence of the location. And it's hard to think of just one. I
Yeah.
think I'm the most memorable shoot I ever remember capturing in the location was in Mojave Desert in Palmdale. And that's a rural city in the middle of the desert on a dry lake bed. And I shot a
Yeah.
De Beers campaign there. And I had wild horses out on the dry lake bed. And I had like 30 models and 4 motorhomes. And all my friends were there. And I had my dream team, hair, makeup, styling. I had 4 hairdressers, 4 makeup artists. I had big wind machines. I had smoke machines. I had the most beautiful, it was like being out on the moon. I'd been there for 10 days on a shoot. And I love these big open locations that are vast and, the most beautiful places on earth. And it wasn't really about the buildings or the palm trees or the ocean, but it was about the simplicity of the desert and the simplicity of the mountains in the distance and the cracked dry lake bed on the at our feet and running around barefooted with my shirt off and taking pictures and having the most epic 5, 10 days on a shoot when the models just all bonded and connected and we had big dinners and lunches every day. And those are the memorable times and the places I like to shoot. And that was really one of my most memorable shoots that I did. I shot for it was for De Beers Diamonds, and I shot 2 television commercials on those 10 days and print campaigns for them. And those were literally the most memorable times and bonding experiences with people. And I have so many of memorable shoots in the most beautiful, dynamic locations around the world.
Thank you for sharing that. That's sounds like a fascinating experience. Sounds like you had the right mixture of people and tools and geography to make it all a success.
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys should check that place out. It's called El Mirage Dry Lake Bed. It's
El
in
Mirage Dry Lake Bed.
Yeah, in the Mojave Desert. Yeah, California.
So, Jim, you split your time between LA and NYC. How do you
Huh?
adapt your creative process to the energy and vibe of each city?
I adapt my creative process in Los Angeles very different than I am in New York. When I live I'm based here in LA most of the time and as well as New York. I have a place in the city. But when I go to New York, I'm normally just there focusing on going into work, doing my job, and then coming back out of the city. I spend a lot of time in Dubai as well. I've been spending like 3 months, 4 months a year in Dubai. So I'm acclimating LA, New York, Dubai. In the winters, I'm in Dubai most of the time. But I have a very different mindset living in LA, having my car, having my home, having my garage, my friends, my family. And my life here in Los Angeles is very different than my existence in New York. I don't have a car there. I'm, taking taxis and walking everywhere and skateboarding. and getting to different locations
Oh, you
around.
skateboard.
Yeah, I've been skateboarding my whole life. And so I
Oh,
skate
that's
in the
really cool.
city, and just a very different animal in the city than I am here in Los Angeles. And we're all like thrown into the pit of everybody's the same, and it's really amazing. So it's like you can be sitting on the subway next to somebody like you have no idea. And so LA is very different in the culture and the way it is and the where people live and the cars they drive, and everyone's got their thing, and
So would you say that New York's the great
it's
equalizer in a way? You can have a
yeah, it's
billionaire on the
equal.
subway next to a homeless person.
Exactly.
It's the great
And that's
equalizer.
what's so amazing about New York. And in LA, people are more in their capsules. You get in your car, you go, you get out of your car, you go in, and you get back in your capsule. Everything's more capsulated. In New York, the culture, as we all know, you're just put in the melting pot. You're all holding hands together, moving through life. And it's a very different mindset. Being in LA and New York, and I wouldn't choose one or the other. I love the both. I think it helps me grow as a person and communication, and it helps me just acclimate to be in the connection with other human beings. It's awesome. And I
And
like
how does
talking
Dubai
about,
fit?
go ahead.
And how does Dubai fit into your life? What would you say Dubai brings you that New York and LA cannot bring you?
It's just like exploring new lands and new opportunities that are happening with me there, you know. In Dubai, there's no celebrities there. There's not really famous people there that live there. You know, Dubai is opening up a whole new world for me because I'm in the entertainment business. I shoot a lot of supermodels and movie stars. And so the world opening up to me in Dubai is like the people are very hungry for that there because there's nobody there. So if you're around movie stars and you have relationships in your network with stars and supermodels, Dubai's like, come, we want you here. We want that in our culture. So it's a really interesting place on what's happening there and the opportunities and the doors that are opening up for my career and from the opportunities that I'm doing, you know, shooting, shooting the royal family, and I'm doing a lot of different stuff there in Dubai. I do a lot of things in blockchain, emerging big entertainment companies into digital platforms. I'm doing a lot of different stuff in oil and gas and a lot of different things that I'm working on in my company. So it's
So I
really,
guess Dubai and the Gulf region is transitioning your career to something that's a little bit more
abs-
diversified than the fashion, entertainment,
yeah,
movie scene that you're
absolutely.
used to.
Yes. Yes. I've been a
Interesting.
model scout my whole life since I've been a young kid. I started scouting models in seventh grade. I had 21 models signed with Elite Models by the time I was in the eighth grade. I ended up, doing
How old
make
were you in the eighth grade? Just to give people some perspective.
14. 14.
14, and you had how many models signed up?
And I had 21 models signed with Elite time I was in the eighth grade. I was ditching school, hitchhiking and skateboarding to all the schools like in LA, Hollywood
I mean,
High,
that's unheard of.
Calabasas High, El Camino. And I was cutting these girls' hair, doing their makeup and hair, and taking photos of them, getting them, bringing them into the model agencies with their mothers. These girls were like, for girls and guys were like 14, 15, 16. They were signing contracts, sending them off to Paris and Milan. And I ended up doing makeup and hair I ended up running away from home when I was 15. And I ended up, moving to Italy, to Milan. 6 months there, living homeless in a park. I ended up meeting some models that introduced me to their model agency. And I started meeting magazines in Italy. And I ended up doing makeup and hair for till I was 19. So I was there 2 weeks before my 15th birthday is when I landed in Milan, and I ended up leaving at 19. And I had, 30 magazine covers of Harper's Bazaar and Elle and Grazia. And I was working with all the best fashion photographers in Milan, and I became a hair and makeup artist. And I came back to LA. I got an agent representing me doing hair and makeup, and I started working with Herb Ritts and Helmut Newton and Peter Lindbergh and all the biggest fashion photographers in the world, traveling with Whitney Houston and Elizabeth Taylor, Sophie Loren, Sarah Jessica Parker, Nicolas Cage, Jeff Bridges, like Farrah Fawcett, Cindy Crawford, and all the 90s supermodels. I was based between LA and New York. I brought my camera and my hair and makeup bag. I was sneaking around the photographers. I didn't want them seeing me photographing their talent. And I would take pictures of these supermodels and movie stars in the parking lot or after work. I'd get them to pose for me. And I started collecting all these photos in a box in my closet. And I never talked about it, never told anybody, never wanted to be a photographer, never thought I could be a photographer. I didn't really know how to use a camera. I'm not that technical and I'm not that skilled at how to use a camera. But I just loved taking pictures and showing the people how I saw them through my lens. And that was what fed me and drove me to continue beautifying everything and everybody I'd meet and try to help people and open doors for them. And that was what I did to lead me to where I am today. It's like the craziest thing, and you had no idea. I knew I never wanted to be a hairdresser and work in a hair salon. Then I never knew me doing makeup and hair for a magazine would have ever led me to become a fashion photographer. And so I think, I ended up opening a talent management company in 2020. And I've been managed, no, I'm sorry, not in 20, in the year 2000. So I've been a talent, opened my company, White Cross Management, discovering models, discovered Taylor Hill, the biggest model in the world, and Gigi Hadid and Jeremy Meeks and hundreds of other kids. And I manage them through my company, White Cross Management. And I started four
Incredible.
magazines, and I just do a lot of different things in the creative space.
And you mentioned that you've worked with Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes, I used to do
I've,
Elizabeth Taylor's hair and makeup.
and that's old. That's old world Hollywood. I didn't
Yeah,
even think you were that old. I mean, you look so young.
yeah, I was 19 when I started doing her makeup. Yeah, and I used to do Sophie Loren and Farrah Fawcett and Molly Ringwald and like Phyllis Diller and Jacqueline Smith and a lot of the Lucille Ball. I did work with her when I was 19 and came back when she's very old. And I met some icons and I was blessed to be around a lot of credible people. When I was 5 years old, I was in a doctor's office with my mom waiting for my appointment and I was coloring in the coloring books. And I sat the coloring book down and I started lifting all these magazines and looking at the covers. And there was like Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and Marie Claire and Life. And I picked up this magazine, Life magazine, and it had Elizabeth Taylor on the cover. And she was dressed as Cleopatra and she had rhinestones on her face. And I was in awestruck by the photo and I was staring at it like this is so amazing, like the artistry of the makeup and the diamonds on her face. And I heard a voice say to me, "You're going to do that on every movie star in Hollywood." And it was a voice that just came in and passed through. And I never thought of it. I never thought twice about it. I never thought of anything. I was 5. And when I was came back from Milan when I was 20, I got a call saying I was doing Elizabeth Taylor's hair and makeup for a perfume campaign. And I went to her house and she answered the door in a white robe with a white towel on her head. And her housekeeper was there and she gave me a hug, brought me upstairs to her bathroom and said we were going to do the makeup in her bathroom. She laid a white towel down on her countertop. I started taking the makeup and hair out of my kit and I was looking at her through the mirror. She was sitting at her vanity waiting for me to turn around to make her up. And that voice came back that when I was 5 years old. And I got all teary eyed and I was uh, just super emotional. And I thought to
Realizing manifestation at that exact
myself,
moment become reality.
yeah, I realized, how did I get here? Like, how did God have a plan for my life like this? How did God know that I was going to be doing all these movie stars when I was 5, when I had no idea? But I was intrigued and I was fascinated with the beauty and beautifying and transformation. And I was all teary eyed, and she looked at me in the mirror and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, these are really happy tears." And she's like, "What's happening? What's going on with you?" And I go, "Can I tell you a story?" And I said, I was 5 years old in a doctor's office, and I saw a photo of you, and I heard a voice, and I told her the story I just shared with you about seeing her on a magazine cover. And I go, and here I am, like 15 years later, and I'm sitting here with you waiting for me to make your face up. And I'm awestruck at how God has a plan for us. And sometimes we have no idea how we get there. And it taught me that we're not to look around in life to see how other people are doing it. We're to know that we have a call on our life. And each person we are have a true gift. And God has a plan. You source, whatever you call it, has a plan for our life and a destiny and a roadmap. And that we're just to tap in and stay true to who we are and what we love doing. And everything else will fall into place when you're doing what you absolutely love, not worrying about the money. And that's like my message to myself, and I have to continue remembering it and to run toward the things that I'm afraid of and intimidated by. Because I realize the things that I'm afraid of in my life are the things that's the direction I need to run toward. Because on the other side of that fear is the miracles that happen in my life. And I just tell you that to encourage you and to everybody listening. I've had the most dynamic opportunities, and keeping my heart right and knowing it's not about all the cool people and the movie stars and all the money and success and travel and fame. It's about keeping our hearts right and knowing that we are here to help people and to love people. And when you do that, everything else comes into place. I ran my
That's a
whole
very
life
inspirational
trying to
message,
want
Jim.
to
Thank you.
you, yeah. I spent my whole life looking around, many years of my life looking around to see how everyone else is doing it. And the world kept telling me, you got to have big houses and you got to have the white picket fence and the fancy cars and be friends with all the famous supermodels and movie stars and have a ton of money in the bank. And I realized when I had all that and nothing changed, and I kept running for more and more, and nothing really changed. It was beautiful and nice, and I'm thankful. But it never changed that empty hole that was inside me and wondering what's going to fill that. And those were the lessons, and those are the things that I was hungry for. How to fill the emptiness and the brokenness of having everything and having people look at your life and go, wow, you have the coolest life. You have everything. You know all these cool people. You hang out with whatever. And it just didn't feel to me what it looked like inside me to other people.
You know, Jim Carrey said he wished everybody could be rich and famous so they could find out that it's not all it's cracked up to be.
That's so good. It's so real. It's so real. And that's it. It's just about holding hands with the world and seeing this beautiful place together and just
Yeah.
sharing and lifting each other up. Having money is great because it gives you freedom having more opportunities to do things. And I'm not saying money's bad or it's one thing or another, but there's a lot more to a lot of the material things in our life.
Well, I think there's a chasm between people who believe that the world is just a 3D reality and those that believe that there's something more. And then, of course, there's people who pay lip service to the idea that there's something more. But there's people that authentically believe that the world is way more profound than what we see and what we hear and what we taste.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that spiritual power and energy that you cannot tangibly feel, but that you can intangibly sense is
Absolutely.
is what we're talking about today. And we really appreciate that you're able to open up like this
It's
to our
amazing.
audience.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And what I've recently come to know, and my whole life changed about 4 years ago, was able to see my future and not want it or hope for it or try to get it, but I just saw it and I started celebrating that it already happened. Even though the vision was so big and my vision board was huge. And I just started giving thanks for it, that it already happened. And once I stepped into that place, miracles started happening. And all the things just started coming into my life, and the roadblocks were all lifted up, and the heavy backpack I had been carrying for so long, trying to make things happen. Then I realized if I stopped saying things, my vocabulary, that things would start to happen quickly. And I stopped saying I'm wanting, and I stopped saying I'm going to try, and I stopped saying I'm hoping, and I removed those words out of my vocabulary: wanting, hoping, trying. And a lot of things started to change in my life. And I just started saying, waking up every day saying today is the best day ever. Even in the midst of the storm, I kept saying today is the best day ever. And I realized that we wake up every morning, that today is the best day ever. We woke up, and all the other little things that we want to focus on and go down these rabbit holes and have reasons why things aren't the way we want them to be. And the more you say today's the best day ever and start seeing your future, not hoping, wanting, or trying to get it, but just celebrating that it already happened, it'll happen before you know it. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've been manifesting and giving thanks for every day. So I
So
encourage
gratitude is a key ingredient in your manifestation ritual.
every day, every morning. It's the first thing I say when I open my eyes. I say thank you. And I grab my journal and I write 3 full pages before I even get out of bed in the morning. And I start it with gratitude, and I start thanking God for every single thing in my life. And then I talk about my day, and I talk about what I did last night. And then I end my journal with gratitude again and giving thanks. And then I do my affirmations. I spend 5 minutes doing affirmations. Then I get dressed and I go swim a mile every morning. In my life, I swim 100 laps, and it's a mile in this Olympic pool. And then I give thanks my last 10 laps. I just speak into the water about all the greatest things. And there's miracles that are happening in water when you speak in water like that. There's frequencies that move through the water. And I'm learning a lot. And I'm so thankful to be able to share with you and to meet you and to be here. And there's so much more going on than we can see with our own eyes.
As a talent scout, how do you feel urban culture impacts emerging models As a talent scout, how do you feel urban culture impacts emerging models and actors' style and presence?
How do I feel urban culture affects a model style or an actor style? I think urban culture, I get you. I think urban culture affects an actor. Oh, man, this is such a loaded question. I feel like models and actors are much better people when they have huge life experiences. And I think being immersed in a city like New York City and living in an urban jungle like that, you are so much more ahead as an actor to really feel and have senses and experiences and relationships and all things coming at you from every angle to broaden your gifting as an actor and your emotion and the way you deal with things and the way you listen and all those different types of things. I don't know if this is answering your question, but I think having experience in life makes a great actor. Having great experiences in life makes a great model. I think all models and actors, if you're a model, I think anyone in front of a camera at any type of medium is acting. And I think the
Of
best
course.
actors and models are people that have the most life experience, that are more in touch with themselves and their heart and their bodies, and opposed to living in a rural country or living somewhere where they don't have that kind of interaction with life. And
I mean, that's
it's
why anytime someone gets off the camera, they feel a sense of relaxation. They feel
yeah,
like they can get their guard down because they're not
yeah,
being watched.
yeah, of course.
And so that's an interesting point about, everybody who's on camera is somewhat acting.
Yeah, it's like a lot of, when I shoot a big movie stars or actors, a lot of big actors don't feel comfortable in front of a still camera. Because a lot of actors, good actors, normally have a script or they're playing a character, so they're this become this other person. But when you've got a camera pointed at an actor that's not doesn't have a script, they're kind of like, this is uncomfortable when it's about them. So, that's why as a fashion photographer and somebody that you have to be good at working with actors, because when you're shooting them for a Vogue cover, GQ, they don't have a script. It's about them. And it's about how I, as an artist, communicate to them and feel their sensitivity being vulnerable with me. And so it's about me communicating or relating to them and getting them into character and giving them characters to play in front of my camera. And that's what makes a successful shoot, like as what I've learned working with movie stars.
So, Jim, which are the most beautiful cities in the world according to you?
There are so many different reasons of how the beauty is so different, but I think Paris is hands down the most beautiful city with the architecture and the bridges and all of the things in Paris and how old it is. And I'm awestruck every time I go there. Like, how did these people build these buildings that long ago? And it's the most incredible place. I think Paris, hands down, is the most visual, beautiful city. I think Munich is a beautiful city as well. I think, Berlin and those old cities are incredible. I was just in Greece for 5 weeks and like I went to 7 different islands, and I don't know if those islands are cities, but I love Greece. The Greek islands are incredible. And obviously LA is awesome. It's like my heart is here, and it's so beautiful and has such diversity from the mountains to the desert to the snow to Northern California and the wine country. And it's epic. But I think
Would
this
you
is,
say San Francisco is more beautiful than LA? Would you think of it as a more visually appealing city? Think about San Francisco. Think
um,
about over the bridge, over
I think
the.
San Francisco has it's very unique and I think it's very beautiful. But to me, like I look at the weather as well, and not to mention just how beautiful the city is. I look at the weather and I think San Francisco is a beautiful city. I don't think it's as beautiful now, what's happened to it in the last couple of years. But I think, and it's a lot of clouds and it's cold a lot of times there. But I think LA is my sweet spot. I like it here. I like traveling to San Francisco to work there, but I don't think I could personally ever live there or spend a lot of time. I used to shoot a lot of stuff up there for Macy's, and I'd go up there every week for like 6 months. I was there like once a week out every month, and I loved just going there for work and coming back, exploring the city, taking the boats out to the little islands and getting lost in the city. It was pretty fun. But yeah, there's so many beautiful places and so many undiscovered, untouched, amazing locations and cities all across the US.
And you mentioned Paris. Parlez-vous français?
No, very little.
No.
No. You speak
Paris est
French?
absolument magnifique.
You're
I
French?
agree. It means Paris is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it there. Yeah, but there's a lot to see in this beautiful place.
Definitely. It's funny because, and this is an interesting thought, but the beautiful thing about America is you can have someone who came from France, who came from some foreign country, who learned English later on in life. and they can rise up the corporate ladder. They could make it in America. There's that kind of openness in America.
Yeah.
You know, there's kind of that openness to see what a person has beyond the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
other places, and certainly in France, if you're an American and you don't speak French, they're not even going to hire you. They're not going to look at you.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's special about America in terms of welcoming people from different cultures and being open to looking past what someone has to say or how they say it, if you will,
Yeah.
and
I
seeing
love
what
that.
they can actually do.
I love that.
Jim, thanks for tuning in to the City Show. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the heart of urban creativity and inspiration, and we were certainly inspired by you. Until next time, keep exploring your city, LA, and we're sure there's always going to be more to discover.
I look forward to it. Amazing.